we're looking for the equation of a line tangent to this curve, the curve of 4 cotangent x, that's tangent to this curve at x equals 7 pi over 4. So basically we're looking, we have this curve 4 cotangent of x. I'll show you what it looks like. You don't have to know what this looks like, but this is what it looks like. And we're looking for the line that touches this curve right at 7 pi over 4, which is about 5.5-ish. So we're looking for the line that touches it. So it's going to touch just at that one point where x equals 7 pi over 4. And so what do we need to know about this line to be able to write the equation? Well, we know that it's going to be in point-slope form, so we need to know the y value and the x value at that point. And then we need to know the slope of this line too, right? So when we hear the word slope, we think ding, 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 that means derivative, right? I can find the derivative, which tells me the slope of the tangent line at any point, okay? And then I can find our x and our y values because I already have my x value. I already know the x value that it's going to be at this point, and then if I plug that x value into here, I'm going to get out a y value, and that will tell me the y value. So my y, I plug 7 pi over 4 into the original function. X is just 7 pi over 4 because this is a point on the curve, right? We know that this point exists on this curve. This point also has to exist on the tangent line because they touch at this exact point. And then we're going to use the derivative to find the slope. So first things first, let's just go ahead and put in our x and our y values into our equation so that we have them just in there already, and all we have to do is find the slope. Okay, so we know that 7 pi over 4 is going to go in here for x. So we're just going to replace that with 7 pi over 4. And then we got to figure out what's our y value going to be on this curve when x equals 7 pi over 4. So we come down here and we plug 7 pi over 4 into it. So y equals 4 cotangent of 7 pi over 4. Okay, what is the cotangent of 7 pi over 4? Now, in case you can't remember your unit circle, here it is. Here's 7 pi over 4. It's over here, 7/4 of a pi. The sine of this is negative root 2 over 2, and the cosine is root 2 over 2. So what is the cotangent? Well, the cotangent of any angle is the cosine of the angle divided by the sine of the angle. And our cosine was root 2 over 2, and our sine was negative root 2 over 2. So what is our cotangent? Well, it's negative 1. Okay, so cotangent of 7 pi over 4 is negative 1. So now I have y equals 4 times the cotangent of 7 pi over 4, which is negative 1. So when x equals 7 pi over 4, y equals negative 4. So I can come up here and I can replace my y1 with negative 4. If I put in negative 4, though, what's it going to do? It's going to be y plus 4, right? Okay, so we're there. We've got both of those done. Now all we have to do is we have to find the slope of this line. And to find the slope of this line, we find the derivative. So what is the derivative of 4 cotangent of x? Y equals 4 cotangent x. All right, what's the derivative of cotangent? Well, the derivative of cotangent is negative cosecant squared. So this is going to be y prime is going to equal 4 times negative cosecant squared of x. And then we can just write that as negative 4. Let's fix that. Negative 4 cosecant squared of x. Okay, now this just tells us, remember, we can plug any value in for x to figure out the slope of the tangent line because the slope changes over time, right? Depending on where you are on the curve, the slope of that tangent line changes. So this just gives us a function that tells us the slope, and we have to plug in a value for x to tell us what the slope is at that exact point. So what's our value for x? It's 7 pi over 4. So I can say y prime of 7 pi over 4 equals negative 4 cosecant squared of 7 pi over 4. I've just squeezed that in right there. Okay, so what is the cosecant squared of 7 pi over 4? Well, again, let's look at our unit circle. Here's 7 pi over 4. Cosecant is the reciprocal of the sine function. So we take the sine and we flip it over. So cosecant of of 7 pi over 4 is 2 over root 2, negative 2 over root 2. Okay, so since sine of 7 pi over 4 equals negative root 2 over 2, cosecant of 7 pi over 4 equals negative 2 over root 2. And then we are going to plug that into our function. So we have equals negative 4 times the cosecant of 7 pi over 4 squared. Okay, and what's this squared? Well, that is negative 4 times 4 over 2, which gives us negative 8. So what did this tell us? What did this tell us that we needed to know? Well, this told us that the slope of the line at the point 7 pi over 4 is negative 8. The derivative at that point is negative 8. So I can come back here and I can replace this slope with negative 8. So this is the function or the equation of a line that is tangent to the curve 4 cotangent x at the point x equals 7 pi over 4.